Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sasha Alari, as my co-host. Hey, Satch, hit the titles, brother. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Completed It. It's Monday. Neil, you know what that means, my friend? Oh, I haven't got the. I can't. Donkey Kong. Marvelous Monday is back, and as the aforementioned co-host is back with us, the guru himself. Neil, how are you, brother?
I am good. I am good. And yourself?
I am good, my friend. We are back for another marvelous Monday, and this is one I have been looking forward to. And he's still jetting around the world, so he done so well joining us for Spider-Man. He's back from the American Wife podcast. Tim, how are you, sir? You're back again. You're part of the family, mate. That's it. You're in
Oh.
now. You've got to buy us Christmas presents. I'm expecting birthday gifts from you. Everything. How are you, man?
You're going to be sorely disappointed, man.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be back.
Sound like
Thank you
my
for having me
wife.
back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you, my friend. We have reached one of the best films I think Marvel have ever done. Black Panther was released in February 2018. There is Neil with his Funko Pop. Chad Boseman, may he rest in peace. Bringing one of the best Marvel characters I think that I've ever seen. I can't state to you how much I love Black Panther. So I've been looking forward to getting to this movie. And as always, we start these off with Sasha will kill me if I didn't do it. This movie had a budget of $200 million. If you had to guess, guys, off the top of your head, bear in mind we record these pre and you can't Google it. How much do you think worldwide Black Panther made? Neil, you can go first.
I'm gonna say 1.2 billion.
Oh, so close. Tim, that
I'm
gives
gonna,
you a big clue.
I'm gonna go a little higher because I really hope it went a little higher. 1.3, 1.4 billion.
$1.3 billion
Mm,
worldwide. It made
yes.
Deservedly so.
the opening weekend in North
Hmm?
America alone $202 million in the opening weekend. Tim, when you were
Bro.
on with us last time, we mentioned we're in it now, we're here, but this is peak. You can't get better than this.
No.
When you hear numbers like that at this time in life, 2018, could Marvel do no wrong?
Um, at this point, no, but this was a risk, I think. This
Yep.
felt like one of those films where this character isn't all that well known. They've got it's not really a stunt cast to have Chadwick Boseman as the lead. This is not, some actor with millions of fans already, although he was on a rise.
Rise.
Um, so they could have made a mistake here, but no, this is possibly one of the smartest moves they ever made.
We mentioned when we done Spider-Man, obviously Spider-Man was introduced in Civil War. Going back to Civil War was our first look at the Black Panther. Neil heralded at the time for bringing in the Black Panther character. It was up for all sorts of awards. Had to be up. I think it was nominated for Best Picture at
Mhm.
the Academy Awards. Again, like we said with Spider-Man, and we kind of knew the history of Spider-Man. So I was with like what Tim said when we recorded Homecoming. I'd like to have seen it as a surprise. Would you have liked to have seen Black Panther as a surprise, or was this a character that they kind of had to explain? Because there are people out there, and I still speak to them now. They're like, Black Panther, who, what? And this is me explaining it in 2025. So
Mhm.
when you go back to 2017, and also when Civil War was released, was it a character that needed explaining? And the whole Wakanda thing obviously got more explained in the Black Panther movie. But when T'Challa come into Civil War, a
Mhm.
lot of people were like, unless you were like us and you're geeks and you're nerds and you love the comics and you love etc. A lot of people were like, who's this guy? I remember friends of mine who were purely just watching the movies going, Burrows, who's the Black Panther? What does he do in this universe, etc., etc. So, how
Mhm.
did you feel? How did you feel about the whole introduction of the Black Panther? Did they do it right? Did little sprinkling in Civil War, and then they gave us this great movie in 2018 or February 2018?
think it was. I think you couldn't have done it better. You couldn't
Mm.
have done it better. It was necessary because I think if we look at it before the MCU started, Marvel's top tier was literally Spider-Man, Hulk, X-Men. That was it. If you weren't into comic books, but someone said name three Marvel characters, that's what you were naming.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right? The Avengers were B tier, as crazy as it sounds, in 2025 right now. Avengers were B tier. Then the MCU came, really fully introduced the world to the likes of Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and so on and so forth. But Black Panther is like Ant-Man. It's like a niche character that if you're not into comics, you have no idea who this is.
Mm.
I mean, like there's a Black Panther, there was a Black Panther party in the United States, right?
Mm.
So the word Black Panther means something totally different depending on the avenue you come from. So they needed to kind of establish who it was because I think the best way I can kind of phrase it to you is if T'Challa Black Panther didn't turn up in the MCU, if he wasn't there in Civil War, then you would you would have thrown him out there, and some people would have been like, "Oh, I don't know if I really want to see this. Or who's this?" Oh, it's like you'd have some people watching it out of obligation because it's MCU.
Mhm.
Because I mean, if you really think about it, no character in the MCU turns up in Black Panther. Cap's not in it. Thor's not in it.
End
Hulk's not in it.
credits, but that's
Nobody.
about it.
I mean, yeah, you've got okay. So you got
Bucky.
Bucky in the end credits. But if you take away those end credits, there's nothing that super other than the death of T'Chaka. There's nothing that really says this is the MCU. It could have been a standalone film devoid of any connection to anything.
But wasn't Captain America at the end of Civil War hiding out in Wakanda? I vaguely
Yeah,
remember doing when I was doing the research this. I was thinking
yeah, that
they could have
happened.
put Captain America in this movie because technically he's on Wakanda.
Yeah, because he goes to Wakanda. He
Yeah.
there when Bucky gets frozen and he gone. But what I'm saying is if removing post credit scenes, because really and truly we do have to remember that there is still in 2025 a subset of human beings who do not stay for post credits in MCU films.
Dude, do you know how mad I get when I watch a Marvel film and like 4 or 5 people next to me get up and you can literally see all these people go, "Where the fuck are you going?"
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'll give credence. There are some people who get up as soon as that film is done, leave, pee, and come back.
Yeah.
So those ones I'm like, I understand, right? But some people, they're just not into films like that and they just get up and they leave, right? So to some people, Wakanda didn't mean a thing until this film came out.
Mm.
And obviously you've read the story of the MCU, the book I recommended to you,
One of the best, if not the best book I've ever read. Thank you, sir.
right? And when they talk about the journey of getting the Black Panther there, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but the journey of getting to the point where we have the Black Panther on screen
Hmm.
was diabolical, right?
Hmm.
Ike Perlman, mate, but it's there was no better way to introduce him. I think you gave people a taste of what he could do. I mean, you look at it, right? Captain America gets in a car and is driving because this guy chasing him is I'm like T-1000. He's chasing him down and it was like this guy's on foot. This guy is on foot.
Hmm.
And that triple kick and the scratching on the shield and all of this, all the things that he did in Civil War made it a necessity that you watched Black Panther.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Tim, why did you see it as a risk with the Black Panther, or why do you think Marvel, should I say, seen it as a risk?
I mean, for everything Neil just said, was that this is not a character that on name alone would get people in. You say that name, people are going to think, oh, this is a political film. I'm not going to go and see that. A historical political film? Nah, I don't want this. But the introduction in Civil War was perfect.
Mhm.
Whoever came up with the way to do that needed a raise because not only did it make you want to come back and see Black Panther, because you leave the cinema going, okay, I want more of that guy, I want more of that character,
Agreed.
but also, I mean, you were saying, Andy, that other people were like, oh, I don't know anything about this guy. What do I need to know? It told you everything you
Everything.
need to know. He's introduced so naturally
Mhm.
in Civil War. It gives you enough of the story to know why he's important in that story,
Hmm.
but it teases next to nothing about what's going to come next. So that means that Ryan Coogler can do what he needs to do for Black Panther. So
Mhm.
Black Panther doesn't have to rely much on Civil War, except for his dad has died. He's now got to ascend to the throne.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. And the rest of it, you know, is just introduced in this film. It
Mhm.
is such a great introduction.
Yeah. And a great introduction also, obviously, with him becoming T'Challa becoming king, but then his throne is immediately threatened by the great Michael B. Jordan playing the character of his uncle's son. I hadn't seen a
Otherwise
lot
known
of,
as a cousin.
yeah, otherwise known as a cousin. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Um, I thought it's a great role for Michael B. Jordan. Why? And
Mhm.
and he hadn't done a lot, if anything, up until really this launched him. This Marvel role really did launch. Because when did the first one come out? That was post this. Am I right in
No, Creed
thinking?
was before this.
Creed was before. So he done Creed and then I think this, or there was
Yeah.
maybe a few in between.
And they'd
But for
also done
me,
Fruitvale Station together
yeah,
as
if you
well.
Yeah.
can get
But that
into
no
a
one saw that.
if you can get into a Marvel film, so him playing this role and it was all around T'Challa just trying to become king. He becomes king, then he's not king, and then they think he's dead and he's not dead, and you're explaining everything around Wakanda
Mhm.
gets explained in this film. You don't, like you say, Tim, you don't. I didn't leave this movie thinking, oh, I didn't really get that. They set up a whole certain part of the Marvel universe in 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Done. I wasn't thinking, oh, I didn't really get that, or I didn't kind of get that. There were certain parts of, say, Captain Marvel where the storyline was quite flawed, or there was bits I'm thinking, hang on a minute, that ain't quite right. But maybe that's just me being the comic book geek. Right? Yeah, I know Neil thinks a lot about that movie wasn't right. We're going to get to that in maybe about, I think we're a week away, 2 weeks away.
Mhm.
Um, but for the Black Panther movie, I thought it introduced everything, and knowing how close we were now to Infinity Wars and knowing that it was literally round the corner after this, I thought that Chadwick Boseman done an absolute incredible, incredible job. And Neil, in doing my research for
Mhm.
this film, come across a Twitter page or I think it was a Facebook page. This was seen, and I'm talking lead role,
Mhm.
the first black man to play a leading role. And obviously, I know you had Falcon, etc., etc.
Mhm.
In a Marvel movie. This was heralded all over the world. In the United States, every interview. So I went back on YouTube and I watched a lot of interviews with Chadwick Boseman, and he was explaining how very much proud he was to be the leading character as a black man in a Marvel film. Did this movie do more than any other maybe movie for saying, "Hey, look"? I mean, you mentioned it, or you've mentioned it plenty of times on this show. It's 2025. We shouldn't have these things where white, black, pink, purple, blue, whatever color you
Yeah.
are. The Chad Boseman interviews I heard and read, and everything I read about this movie, he was very, very, very proud to
Mhm.
be the first real black lead, as in he had his own movie in the Marvel universe. How did you feel sitting there as a black guy and seeing that Chadwick Boseman absolutely
Mhm.
become one of the greatest? I think he's in my top three Marvel characters of all time. How
Mhm.
did you feel when that all was developing? Was that and I don't mean I'm not saying this to cause any like
Yeah.
trouble or anything like
No,
that.
no, no, no.
I mean it from the point of view as in like, wow. I mean, this was a great movie standalone, and
Mhm.
then they kind of used this movie not politically, but to say, hey, doesn't matter what fucking color you are. If you're a good actor, you're a good actor, and Marvel saw fit to put him in a lead role in the film.
I'll try and sum this up in the best way I can. So, well, but firstly, I'll point out he is he is the third black man in a leading role in a Marvel movie. He is the first in a MCU movie because both Blade and Meteor Man
Ah, true.
are
Yep.
both Marvel characters. Now
Yep.
they were Blade was definitely treated with, the respect it deserves. Meteor Man, not so much. But I think what the reality of it was Marvel characters, with the exception of Robert Downey Jr.,
Mhm.
when Marvel gave you a new hero in the MCU, these were people who you might recognize them from here or you might recognize them from there, but they were saying to you, this is this character. This is the embodiment of this character. Not, you know, you watch Iron Man. Yes, Robert Downey Jr. became Iron Man,
Mhm.
right? And it's hard to imagine anyone else being Iron Man. However, this is still the Oscar winner who won for Chaplin. This is still Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This is still, you know, like Natural Born Killers. This is still that guy. He's
Mhm.
still been in so many films. He's still been there in the roles where you've seen him multiple times prior to this. This is still Zodiac, you know. Whereas most of the other MCU characters, almost all of them, these you're seeing them and you're like, you are now Thor. You are now Captain America. You are now Hulk. Because the popcorn audience of films don't necessarily know these guys beforehand.
Mhm.
And the thing is, when Black Panther came out, what it said, this is going to sound it might sound very political, very whatever, right? But this was literally, considering Chadwick Boseman played this character, this was Jackie Robinson entering the pro league, leaving the Negro leagues and entering the pro league,
Mhm.
because what it said was, we as a studio are willing to put in front of you a character who does not represent this fan base that we know are coming.
Mhm.
We know this fan base is coming to see this film. This film is like, there's going to be a fan base to turn up very different. And it's like I would be remiss if I didn't point out things that happened at this premiere. Like, my mom likes films, but my mom is not a comic book film fan whatsoever. She literally, like, the fact that I am so heavily into comic books is not her doing, right?
Who is this boy?
Right? But my mum went to see Black Panther. My sister, who barely ever watches films, went to see Black Panther.
Are you sure you're related to these people?
I am positive. Like my sister, put it this way, right? When I say to you, when my mom and my sister told me that they had never seen like Star Wars, the from start to finish, I almost drew my own lightsaber out, right? But they went to see this film, and it was
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna bring up something which is hilarious. Is a lot of because Black Panther is set in Wakanda is in Africa. There were people who went to see this film in African traditional outfits. There were people who
Mm.
went to see this film who took literally, like, there were famous black people who went and grabbed a bunch of kids and said, I'm taking these two classes from this school to go and see Black Panther, because it
Mm.
was a cultural moment. Like I said, it was like Jackie Robinson entering the
Yep.
NBL. It was a serious, serious moment, to the point that some people came dressed as characters from Coming to America, right? And people were like, why Coming to America? And you know what? They said the line that I heard goes down as one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. They said, because Zamunda and Wakanda are bordering nations.
Nice.
Well, excellent.
And
That,
I
that,
was like, wow, yeah. I think
because
I watched it three times in the
the
cinema.
language spoken in the movie is an actual
Yeah,
and
it's
again in doing my research for this I found
yeah,
out
it's
that it
real
was, I was like,
language.
real language. So imagine gonna watch it in parts of Africa and stuff, like you're thinking, hang on.
Yep, I think it was Trevor Noah who said that when he was watching Black Panther and they were speaking, I think it's Soshu, I
Hmm.
think that's how you pronounce it. When they were speaking that language, he was like, I don't need the subtitles. I know what this is. Right?
Yeah, no, look, honestly, I think that the putting Black Panther into the MCU was pure genius. I can't imagine the MCU
Without it.
without him now. Obviously, God bless
Yeah.
Chadwick Boseman, and we kind of obviously we're getting new again. We're going to get a new Black Panther movie coming relatively soon. I mean,
Yep.
I read a few things today when I was again doing the research for the show,
Mhm.
saying about the Black Panther. Tim, just going back to this movie, what did you make of the whole storyline? Did it introduce everything the way it should have? Did it get you thinking, right? I can get from point A to B to C to D, no problems. Because I thought this movie ran absolutely flawlessly. It showed me new characters. It showed me the side of um, T'Challa that he can go to the what do they call it? Where he went and met his dad after his dad passed.
Oh, the
They had
astral
Ancestral
plane.
yeah,
plane.
they had the whole ritual of that. And I thought that was absolutely genius. And then, but he's learning things about his dad that he didn't know. Allah, why he finds his cousin coming over to be wants to take over as king, and he's like, this isn't true. And then he goes back and speaks to his father about it. This movie went a lot deeper than most Marvel movies have. Usually, most Marvel movies like you're in, there's loads of fighting, there's bam, 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 there's this, there's a little bit of storyline here, there's people swinging from webs. This movie went, hang on a minute, we're going to tell a story here, but we're going to go on a deeper level as well. Did you feel, Tim, that this movie was really different? I mean, you mentioned risk at the start. I can kind of see from both sides it was a risk with the whole casting and what issues this could have caused, which was a complete BS and it's one of the greatest castings they've ever done. But with the whole, did you think they went a bit deeper with the storyline in this movie than they had before?
They were. We now know Ryan Coogler, don't we?
Hmm.
We've now seen more of his work,
Mhm.
and he can't not. But there's also got to be a reason why they picked him for director. He was coming from things like Fruitvale Station,
Mhm.
which is, um, you know, the themes of that are about a black man getting unnecessarily shot. If I understand correctly, I've got to be honest, I haven't seen it
Mhm.
yet,
No,
but
no,
I've
no.
heard such amazing things about it, and so they knew he was going to have to bring some of these themes, these deeper political issues in, but also the fact that this film, it's not exactly that it takes a risk to do it, it's that it has the guts to do it, and unashamedly so. I mean, there are themes about young black men in places like Oakland growing up without fathers or without father figures, and that you've got the fact that that applies to both of these men,
Hmm.
that they are mirror opposites to each other, but that one's been raised by his father and now he's having to take on his father's legacy, and the other one is his father was taken from him by the other one's dad.
Yeah.
The way that this brings in those themes that are going to hit people in other places in ways that we in the UK maybe don't even fully understand, no matter what our cultural heritage as well.
Mhm.
So it actually managed to tie this African story into African American stories as well. I just thought that the way it's done is masterful.
Mhm.
Agreed.
And I can't appreciate them to the full extent. But I've now seen this film, I've lost count how many times. And each time I think there's a reason why this was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
the first superhero film to do so. Because you take the superhero aspects out of it, this is a really superb drama.
Mhm. I mean, to latch onto that, elephant in the room, it is essentially the Lion King. If you look at the kind of key points of the Lion King, most of those key points do turn up in Black Panther, right?
Hmm.
However, exactly when you were talking about, the experience of growing up without a father, or how you're shaped by things. I forget who said it, but someone wiser than me once said
Whoa,
that.
whoa, there is no one. You are called the guru for a reason, my friend.
Right? Well, this person said that if you look at heroes and villains, how you how you become one is a hero goes through a traumatic event and says, I'm going to dedicate myself to making sure this never happens to someone else, so
Mm,
no one else has to feel my pain. A villain goes through a traumatic event and says, everyone has to feel my pain.
mm,
That is literally T'Challa and Killmonger. Is T'Challa, his father is taken from him in front of his face. His father dies with him trying to save him, and he will not let revenge consume him. He almost does,
mm-hmm.
but he's like, I'm not gonna let revenge consume me. Killmonger, complete other way around. His father is taken from him, dies in his arms. He's like, yeah, okay, just you wait. And I think one of the really key aspects of what made Black Panther as a film so good is Killmonger's not wrong.
No, I was about to say that.
I mean,
You can see both the way he
the
does it.
way
Yeah.
what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are easy, there are calmer ways to go about it, but at the same time, from slavery through to Jim Crow, through to civil rights movements, segregation, and all of that stuff, the calmer ways haven't completely worked. So, sometimes you gotta, you know, sometimes you can turn the other cheek. Sometimes you gotta throw a right hand.
Mm, no.
And that was that's one of the better parts of, we said in the last episode, the MCU was in its peak era.
Mm-hmm.
It gave you a villain who wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
This wasn't, I'm power hungry because I just want to be in charge. This is someone who's like, I'm a revolutionary. I'm here to stop other people going through what I went through. You just might not like the way I do it. He's Magneto. I went through this traumatic event and now I know how bad things can go. So I want to prevent that.
Mm, no. Great points, mate. Great points.
Oh,
Tim, with the Black Panther movie,
Mhm.
um, do you think that we got everything out of this that we needed? Like I said earlier, that it explained everything from start to finish. There wasn't a point in this movie where I was thinking, oh, they didn't really explain that great. I mean, like we said, Marvel were at a stage now where they were like, hey, look, we're going to give you Chadwick Boseman, we're going to give you Michael B. Jordan. We're going to use our platform to kind of prove that no matter what color, race, creed, everything you are, here's two of the best leading actors that we've got on the planet, and Chadwick Boseman will go down as one of the greatest actors of all time. Michael B. Jordan is easily up there now with one of the greatest actors. Everything. Look at Sinners. I mean, Jesus, that's one of
Yep.
my favorite films of 2025. Did you get everything out of this movie that you wanted, Tim?
no, you get more. You
Mm-hmm.
get more because I don't think you go into this film when it came out in, was it 2018? You
Mm-hmm.
don't go into it knowing what you want. You don't know quite where this is going to go. But like we've already said, it goes deeper than you'd ever expect. I mean, you look at the world building of this, the Afrofuturism, the way that it builds this whole nation. It takes influences from other African nations, from traditions, and blends them seamlessly. Was it five different tribes together, and they
Yep.
all have their own distinct um, dress and their own ways. I
Mhm.
mean, this is such a fantastic way of building what, someone might dismiss as a fantasy world, and you say, oh, right, let's world build fantasy, but it's based so well in reality
Reality, yeah.
that it ties in perfectly to this MCU that is largely based in real places and real things.
Mhm.
But then you've got the fact that by the end of this film, you have a hero who, for the first time, is actually influenced by the villain's ideology.
Mm.
And that sets us up for when we get to Infinity War and Endgame, that sets us up for kind of going, I've got to listen to what these villains say because maybe they're motivated by things that are actually worth hearing out. Not that they're right always, but that you can't just dismiss them as that's the bad guy and I want him to be beaten. And if it wasn't for the nuance like that in Black Panther, then Infinity War and Endgame as a two-parter would not have worked as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed. Knowing what we know now, Neil,
Mm,
we're next week we're going to be talking. We've got to Infinity War. We said when we very first started this, we can't wait to get to this movie.
mm,
Knowing what we know now about Wakanda and the
mm,
whole, like Tim just said, the world building.
mm,
How well did they do in the Black Panther movie? Built just Wakanda on its own. You can take the character. I can peel all these characters back and just go,
mm,
fuck it. I just want to visit Wakanda. You know what I mean? It's like they built that part of the MCU, just a world, that part of the world. They built that on its own without any story, like without any characters. You visually, like Tim said, you could visually see Wakanda was taken from parts of Africa as it is in
mhm,
reality. And in knowing what we know now about the role that Wakanda plays in Infinity War,
mhm.
when you look back at it now, you think fucking genius because Wakanda is the central point at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah.
It is the central point and focus where all the shit goes down. How well and important was it that they got it right in Black Panther, with them already knowing, without the audience already knowing, obviously,
Mhm.
what was to come in Infinity War?
I think there is the best way I can answer that question is I say there is nuance in Black Panther that it is so detailed but so easily missed, right? I'll give you just as quickly as I can some examples. So the Pan-African colors are black, red, and green. And if you look at there's a shot when Okoye, Nakia, and T'Challa they're in the casino and they're walking downstairs. One's in black, one's in green, one's in red. Now that's a nuance that you'd never have to think about. Things of like the language, the Wakandan language being based off a real language. The dress, they took things that exist in this real world. They basically said you know, the simplest way to put it is they said, what would Africa be like if it was never conquered? If it was never colonized, what would it look like?
Mm.
Right? And yes, okay, maybe we wouldn't have flying cars and invisible cloak shields, but what would the people look like? What would their clothes look like? And Wakanda is that. Wakanda is that dream realized, you know?
Mm.
I think again, talking about levels of nuance. Um so if you remember when they go into the casino, Okoye is wearing a wig and she's complaining about the wig when she gets it.
Mhm.
As soon as the fighting starts, first thing she does is throw that wig,
It's off.
gets rid of it, and throws it. But the funny thing is, there is so many deep levels of meaning to that because there is unfortunately there is still even today there is a stigma about black women's hair
Mm.
and whether if them having it in their natural state the issues that it comes is it's seen as it's not very neat, it's messy, it's you know there are so many different words to how people describe black women's hair in its natural state. And it's, oh, do you relax your hair? Do you wear a wig? Do you try and look more quote unquote European to fit in better? And it's like as soon as shit kicks in, she's like, the wig's the first thing to go.
Mhm.
Mm.
And it's a really small thing, but I'm not going to name this individual because they're still a friend and still love them, right? But when I watched the film, I think one of the few times when I watched the film, I watched it with a good friend of mine who said he was like, "Look, I don't get it. What was the thing with the wig?" I explained to him everything I just explained to you. And I said, there is a thing when a number of black people, with men and women, are out in public and someone who's not black is just touching their hair and, feeling, oh, your hair's so lovely. Oh, it's so springy. It's so whatever, right? And they do it without permission. They just grabbing hair and stuff, right? It's happened to my mom and my sister when they visited another country. It's happened to my wife. It happened to me before I was bald, right? I had braids, I had plaits, and it happened to me during certain times. I told this to my friend while we were on our way somewhere. We met up with some other friends. I sat down, and remember, I've told him this maybe 3 minutes prior. I sat down. A friend of ours walked up and immediately started stroking my hair.
Mm.
I looked at him. He almost died laughing because I was like, this is exactly what I told you. Now,
Yeah.
that's not a disrespect to that other friend, but it is a point of saying this is how normalized it is of just doing this thing. So Okoye's reaction to the hair,
Mm.
it touched an audience in a way that very few very few films can do, especially something as mass produced and mass marketed as a superhero film.
Mm. Was it a superhero film being a superhero film, but with sending an underlying message without actually sending an underlying message, if that makes sense?
I mean, again, I say it was what they did was they took for lack
Because
of a
this
better
is, for
term,
me, this is Marvel going, hey, we're Marvel. We want to use our platform.
but that's the thing, you can view it on so many different levels. I think the only kind of really and truly the only Marvel films, MCU films that have this kind of you can watch it in so many different layers
Hmm.
is Black Panther, Thor 1, and Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Mm.
You can watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier and it's a political thriller.
Mm.
You can watch it and it's a superhero movie. You
Yeah.
can watch Thor and it's a Shakespearean tragedy. You can watch Black Panther and you know, it's a superhero movie, or it's a movie showing you black culture,
Mm.
unfiltered, undiluted by contact with the Western world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very well put,
Mm.
mate. Very well put. Uh, Tim, where are you now with the whole Black Panther franchise? Because, like we said, this was peak Marvel. This was Marvel can't do no wrong. I'm kind of where with Black Panther where I've kind of get into with Thor, where I'm like, oh, I don't. No one foreseen Chadwick Boseman passing away, so I don't give Marvel a pass, but they kind of obviously had a different vision.
Yeah.
They were going to A, they've now had to go to B and C. With the whole Black Panther, we mentioned it on the Spider-Man show when you kindly enough joined us for that. You know, we talked about our Spider-Man movies and where does it rank. Where do you now having to where Marvel going to have to pivot with the Black Panther character and the brand of Black Panther? How do you feel? Is it going in the right direction still? Because Chadwick Boseman passing away threw an absolute spanner in because he was going to play such a humongous role.
Yeah.
Moving forward after Endgame, and they were going to etc. etc. They've kind of had to pivot.
Mhm.
Have they done it? Have they done it well in your opinion?
Um, yes, I think that I'm controversial in saying this. I know some people feel differently. I think they made the absolute best out of an awful situation
Mm,
because, like we've already said, Chad Boseman was this character. He embodied it in the best way, and so when he passed, if they had just said, right, let's recast. We've recast people before. In fact, we've recast black men before, and no one seemed to notice. No one seemed to care. They could have done it,
Mhm.
but I'm so glad that they didn't because they took an opportunity that I think films, especially big franchise films, very rarely take, which is a depiction of grief and letting an audience and a cast grieve real life events through the depiction on screen.
Mm.
So, when we get to Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever,
Hmm.
uh, weirdly enough, the other week we watched that before we watched Black Panther. We were
Okay.
just sat going, well, what do you want to watch? And that was what we put on. It's got a special place in our hearts because it was actually a film my wife and I saw on our honeymoon. That we took a bit of time out of our honeymoon to go and see it. But it really was honoring his legacy, honoring his work. Um, but at the same time, I think that there are still some missed opportunities in the Wakandan world in the MCU.
Hmm.
Eyes of Wakanda is really good, and actually, I appreciate it even more after rewatching Black Panther. But why have we not had a series on Disney Plus set in Wakanda?
That's got to happen.
I
Yeah.
Surely
mean,
that's got to happen.
there is such a rich world here that, as has been mentioned, speaks to a large part of the Earth's population that is just so underserved already.
Hmm.
But also, I want to see more of this world. I
Mm.
want to know more about the history. I want to know more how this world works and this country works. I want to see more about how they've started, the outreach programs and they're integrating into world politics. Why have we not had more of this?
Because they
Yeah.
kind of meant it's that's in the movie. Do you know what I mean? It's Wakanda not wanting to put themselves out there.
Hmm.
They could enter into wars, and obviously you got T'Challa saying no. We sit. My his dad's way was to sit back and basically say no. Look, we're good. We're fine.
Yeah.
Let's not. And again, it comes back to what Neil was saying earlier. You can relate that to what goes on sometimes in the world now. There are
Hmm.
countries that go, well, no, not interested. No, nothing. We're good over here. We're not going to get involved. And then later on in the movie, where
Hmm.
T'Challa's like, hey, this is us. This is who he's standing on the podium
Hmm.
and we're going to help. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do moving forward. And that's hence why that sets up Infinity War
Yeah.
so well because Wakanda is out in the world then, and the Avengers are like, well, where the fuck are we going to go to? Like, we need to get somewhere to regroup to like Wakanda done. Let's
Hmm.
get there. And obviously Thanos turns up, and we're going to get into that when we sit down. Probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Marvel movie of all time, in many people's opinions, in Infinity War.
Hmm.
But that was for me again. That was Marvel saying, hey, look,
Yeah.
this is happening in the real world. Let's now get this into our movies. We can still be a superhero film. We can, I'm not going to call it a political film, but it opened people's eyes to like, shit,
Hmm.
Marvel have actually given us what's going on in the real world with these countries. And I thought it was done tremendously, tremendously well. Black Panther for me is easily. We're gonna have to do. I don't think we've done it yet. Like our top five Marvel movies of all time, or our top 10. We could get to that.
That's
Black
tough
Panther.
work.
Yeah, that's gonna take some thinking. But Black Panther for me,
Mhm.
is it's easily in the top five.
Yeah. I mean, to touch on to what Tim was saying, when you said about if they went the right way, people can jump up and down and say, no, they didn't. They should have just recast. I'm gonna tell you right now, and you can sit there, ponder as an audience, ponder these words that I say. You absolutely needed Wakanda Forever to be the film it was.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because if Marvel had just decided, you know what, we're just going to recast, here's what happens. Whoever you recast immediately gets compared to Chadwick Boseman,
Yeah.
and they immediately receive hostility.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how good they are. It does not matter how good they are. They could have done such a good performance that they wind up winning an Oscar.
Mhm.
They would have had backlash because they're not Chadwick Boseman.
Mm.
Because how many times, do films come out and it's the lead character or a side character has passed away and they just recast it? And we're watching a film. Hell, William Hurt.
Mhm.
William Hurt passed away. Hey, Harrison Ford's in. You know, we've had these situations. How many times have you seen a film where one of the actors has passed away and all you get at the end is a RIP to this character.
Mhm.
This film is dedicated to this
Mhm.
person. But because of the impact of Black Panther as a film, as a cultural movement,
Mhm.
Wakanda Forever needed to be exactly what it was. And because it was what it was, while some people loved it and some people really, really disliked it, it means that when they do a Black Panther film and they recast T'Challa and it's someone else, now you get half the backlash. Maybe just a third of the backlash, not even half anymore. Because now you've got people who are like, you know what? I've gone through the stages of grief because the characters in the film go through those stages of grief. You've got anger, you've got acceptance, you've got, you know, denial. You've got all of these. Think about it, right? We start with the denial. Shuri is a character going through multiple levels of grief. Ramonda, the mum, is going through multiple levels of grief, right? I don't care what happens. Angela Bassett should have won the Oscar for just for that scene when she's talking to Okoye and she's like, "Have I not given everything?"
Hmm.
And without that, whoever's coming in, that grief, that rage that she gives in that speech opens the door in a weird way. It opens the door for whoever comes next to T'Challa, who I believe we already know who it is, but it opens the door for that person to come through.
Mm. No, very well put, mate. Very well put. Boys, let's finish this episode. Let's give it a little rate in the Black Panther. We've mentioned Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Where does that sit in the whole? We sit here in 2025. We're very lucky with hindsight now. We get to sit here all these years later. For me, this is the best Black Panther movie for me. Visually,
Yep.
incredible. You can see why it was nominated. It should have won. Should have been the first superhero movie to win an Academy Award. It was
Yep.
visually, the sound, everything about this movie. For me, I remember watching it in IMAX. Even now, I'm watching it at home in its IMAX for Disney
Mhm.
Plus. Me and Neil mention this all the time. I can't watch a movie with the lights on, even with the
Yeah.
lights out, the volume up, and my wife's upstairs. Turn it down. I'm like, nope. Everything about it, the soundtrack, the visuals, the storyline. This for me will rank as my favorite Black Panther movie. What
Hmm.
about you boys?
Oh, absolutely. I think they could make 10 Black Panther movies and none of them would equal what we got here.
Mm, agreed.
I think it's and I mean that sounds horrible because hopefully they do get to make 10 Black Panther movies,
Yes, we
but
don't.
it sounds horrible that I say that seeing like you'll never reach that bar again. But I look at it like this. I am fortunately when I was born, there was one cinematic live action Superman. And whilst I might like other Supermen for what they provide and think other movies are amazing, you'll never replicate the feeling that the world had at seeing Christopher Reeves as Superman.
Mm, yeah, I think that's where we
And
are with a lot of movies as well. Now you'll never
yeah,
replicate that first time you saw Star Wars, that first time the James Bonds that are coming, everything that's coming
yeah.
off the production line now. I've recently watched Running Man, the reviews out on
Mhm,
on our channel. You're never gonna replicate that first time you saw an original, and
mhm,
we're kind of in a period now of movies where we sit here and go, "Man, do you remember when you first saw Iron Man, or when you were first in the cinema and you saw the first Thor? Remember watching Infinity? Remember the end of Infinity Wars and how you were like, like mind blowing." Them kind of moments are what things like Black Panther gave us, and all these, like, we're very privileged to do this now every Monday. But when you look back, you think, man, we were lucky. And then when you go back to generations now, us growing up in the 90s, but you remember seeing Indiana Jones for the first time. You remember seeing,
mhm.
like, there's a new Kill Bill coming out. The poster behind Neil there. You remember when you first saw all these movies? Like, that's his. I can't wait for you to see the comes the new Kill Bill. You remember these moments in like these are now becoming iconic moments in
Yeah,
film. We're now sitting here doing Marvelous Mondays, and you can pick out iconic movie moments like when our parents probably done. When our parents went and saw Star Wars or the original Superman, we're now
Mhm.
them sitting in our era going, man, do you remember when we first saw Iron Man and when we first saw the first Captain America and we, you know, etc. etc. So I hope it continues for years to come.
Yeah,
I call it the reboot era, which we seem to be in now. My wife says it to me all
yeah.
the time. Tim, I don't know if your wife ever. My wife always says to me, I'm off to see Running Man. I'm off to see Star Wars." And they're like, she goes to me, "Are they still doing that?" I'm like, "Well, Running Man's kind of a reboot of the original." And she's like, "Really?" Or like, I'll say to her, "Do you want to watch this? Goonies. They're making another Goonies movie." My wife goes, "Are you kidding me?" Like, her opinion is, can't they come up with something new?
Hmm.
But it's
That's
very,
the opinion of certain people in that group chat.
yeah, oh, very, very much so. Very much so. But boys, we've reached the end of another marvelous Monday. It's been great. Tim, it's been amazing having you with us for the last couple of weeks, my man. You
Yeah.
are like part of the family now, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for adopting me.
Ah, no
That's
problem,
good.
man. No problem. You're always welcome. Anytime you want to come and chat movies with us. But just again, just tell our listeners where they can find your podcast, my friend.
We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. It's This American Wife. And check out our website, thisamericanwife.com, where myself and my wife will often talk about not so much that she's annoyed with the remakes, but that she'll get me to watch the things that I never grew up with, and I'll get her to watch the things that I think she should have seen. And we discuss all of it together and bring our different cultural perspectives to it.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. Well, keep up the good work, my friend. Neil, we've made it, bro. Infinity Wars is next for us. Our next marvelous Monday. Me, you, Sash, and whoever wants to join us.
I think Tim should be there. I think Tim, you
Tim.
need to be
Hey,
there.
Tim, if you want to come and do Infinity Wars, bro, the invite is there, my friend.
It's impossible to turn down an offer like that, so I will do my very best to join you.
I will reach out to you, dude, and we'll get that recording scheduled. Sasha will be back. He's jetting off, right? He's Singapore, Australia. He's been. By the way, I need to. When he's back and he can watch this, he takes the worst selfies I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Neil, am I wrong?
No, no,
Thank you very much. Just wanted to get that out in the world. Hope everyone in the group
Crash.
chat is watching this. Sash is watching this. Like he's the worst
I
ever
think
person to take a selfie.
hopefully, no, I think he'll be back by the time this comes out.
He'll be back. Yeah, I think he will.
Because I think he's back in a few days. But all
Yeah.
I'll say is this: like, Sash, camera up
Up,
high,
dude. Here, no
high,
good. You know, like
not
when
low,
your
right?
grandma, your
Big.
grandpa's trying to figure out the like my grandma once, right, tried to operate a mobile phone whilst turning over the TV. You know that episode in Only Fools and Horses when they're turning Del Boy's got the phone out, but the TV in the background's turning over. My nan done that in real life, and my poor granddad didn't have a clue what was going on. So Sash, sort your selfie game out, my man. But yeah, Sash will be back joining us soon. Anyone that wants to check us out, just jump onto YouTube. Completed It Podcast is where you can find us at Completed It Pod on Twitter. But till next time, everybody. Tim, thank you so much for joining us, man. We love having you on the show. The guru himself, Neil, always a pleasure. All three of us should be back next week where we sit down and talk Avengers Infinity War. Till then, everybody, stay safe.